So a very good evening, Mr. Nitin Chalke. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Chalke is President, Hydraulics and Vehicle for the Asia Pacific region at Eaton. Pleasure to have you with us today, Mr. Chalke, in this interaction. Can we start off with an update on the impact of COVID? This has come at a most unexpected. Nobody was prepared for this, such a pandemic at such a global scale. So how has COVID kind of affected your business, and how have you handled this entire extraordinary situation at your company, Mr. Chalke?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you to Motor India and to you, Mr. Balasubramanian, for your interest in Eaton. And it's our pleasure to really appear for this interview and talk to you. And I'm really looking forward to having an interesting conversation. Now, going to your question about the impact and how we are handling it. This has been, it surfaced not just as a health pandemic, but as it started as a health pandemic, but very quickly it also has resulted into this current economic challenges which all of us are facing. Most of the governments in different geographies have responded to this pandemic in India as well as across the world, as trying to be more protective, more receptive to what they need to do. And lockdowns has been implemented widely across different geographies. And India is no different. Again, we had to do what we had to do at that time. And lockdowns have become norms in most of the industries and most of the countries. And that has had a significant impact on the economies. Especially economy like India has had a severe economic recession, which we have seen hit us very badly in the month of March. The schedules had to be relooked at. The concerns of employees had to be addressed, and you really had to do what you could do on an immediate basis to manage through the crisis. India also, if I look at our own organization, our footprint in India is quite large. We have 9 different manufacturing. Eaton, first of all, if you're not aware, it's a very large global multinational company with a turnover of $20+ billion and having presence across the sectors. We call ourselves as a diversified power management company, which has aspiration to be an intelligent power management company going forward. So our presence in various segments is very important. Segments like automotive, segments like agriculture, construction, or data centers and utilities on the electrical side are the segments which we touch in a very significant way. So in India, we have all our 9 manufacturing plants serving all these different segments, and they had an impact. In addition to that, we have a very large tech center, and we also have a global professional shared service center, which supports our operations globally, not just in India, but globally. So if those operations come to halt, then that's going to have an impact, not just on our Indian customers, but also on our customers around the world. So the impact can be very telling on our global businesses. I have to say that our teams have really done a good job to quickly realign ourselves, ensure that the infrastructure is created where most of our employees could work from home and continue to support our global operations, and interrupted operations of our global businesses could continue. And our support for functions like engineering, like finance, supply chain, and so on could continue seamlessly. And I'm really proud to say that what we could achieve in almost a period of 1 week since the lockdown started, that we had a situation where not even one major escalation we had to deal with through our global operation, which I feel is very commendable. I also have to thank our supplier partners along with our employees and our customers for being very proactive, being very receptive and understanding to see the situation and work with us very closely to help us address the situation very quickly, take the necessary actions, be it getting the supplies coming to us, because there were some of the segments which were part of our critical operations, like segments like healthcare, segment like uninterrupted UPS or uninterrupted power supplies, where we had to continue to supply our products during those times of crisis. our teams could come to the office. They stepped up. They come to our plants to ensure those products are manufactured in our premises and also shipped out to our customers who were building the healthcare equipment or energy equipment. So that's why we really stepped up to really meet the challenge.
It's very nice to know, how the way your team and probably your partners have also helped you handle this situation. I'm very glad to hear a lot of positive, views from your side, Mr. Chalke. Right. Uh, Focusing on the automotive space, wherever Eaton is present, that includes commercial vehicles and also off-highway applications. How do you think these segments have actually panned out over the last few months? We are seeing a slight improvement in demand since July, which is a very, very encouraging sign. How has it been for Eaton? That's one. And two, what do you think the different stakeholders in the auto industry should be doing to actually handle this crisis in the best way possible? If you can throw some light based on your experience over the last few months.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And as you know that we have one of our businesses, vehicle business, where we have various products which are for going to passenger car as well as heavy duty commercial vehicles, be it engine valves, valve actuation products, our HLA or hydraulic launch assist products, or the medium and heavy duty transmissions, which we make in our 3 facilities in Nashik, Nagar, and Ranjangaon, and supply to customers not only in India but also at a global level. We have a lot of export to our own companies which supply to global customers, but also directly to customers like Ford, which are our major customers, which we serve out of India. And as you know, auto industry in general has been having some challenging time over a period of time, even before COVID. We have seen something happened which started in the second half of 2019 from June, July onwards, and it has been continuing. And then we had this a major blow of COVID impacting the businesses in a big way. You are fully aware that the numbers are really not looking very encouraging for the year-on-year growth or degrowth we anticipate, both on the passenger car as well as on the heavy-duty commercial vehicle market. Eaton has been no different because, as you know very well, being a tier 1 supplier, we depend on the large customers in India like Ashok Leyland Mahindra and to some extent Tata, whom we serve in a big way, and engine manufacturers like Tata Cummins, customers like Kirloskar Oil Engine are our major customers. So we do have a very large footprint with these customers, and as their schedules had to be redone with the slowdown of the market, we had to quickly look at how we can reschedule our own production and also quickly inform our suppliers about the changes we were seeing in our customer forecast and take their help and seek their help to adjust accordingly. So that has been a big challenge, I have to say, in the beginning of the year. The industry in general has stepped up. We also had to flex the operation to manage the cost expectations to be in line with the demand, and then manage the whole operation and flex it in a way that it is in line with the current market demand. I have to say March was the worst month in terms of schedule changes and overall volumes, almost zero sales happening from the OEMs and also impacting us in a big way, barring first few weeks we really had almost no sale. It was followed by equally bad April. And now, as you say that, as you've seen mentioned that July onwards, we are seeing some demand going up both on the passenger and heavy-duty truck vehicle, heavy-duty commercial vehicles. And we hope that this demand is not just a short-term demand because of a very long, almost zero demand period we had in the second quarter or the first financial quarter of this year, of this financial year. And we hope that this demand is sustained over a period of time. So we are hopeful that we can do that. Your second part of your question was about what the industry is doing and what it can do better. I think critically the industry industry is a close-knit industry. Many of us have been together for a long time, and the information exchange through the industry platforms like ACMA or CM have been very strong. We always get a good quality information from industry bodies and also with our OEMs. So the whole value chain, be it our OEMs, their outreach to their customers or their dealer distributor network, feeding in the information to their tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers, and us doing a good job of feeding information to our suppliers and our employees is a very critical aspect of facing this challenging situation. I would say industry has done a good job to be transparent with each other, share information. We had to reduce the cycle of sharing of information. Earlier, if the information sharing was happening once a month during your sales inventory and operations planning, the SIOP planning as it is known in the industry, here we had to reach out perhaps every other day or every day in the initial phase to exchange information and do the required corrections on the schedules and decide how we want to manage the situation. Cash flow is another critical aspect of this. As there is no business, there is no cash being generated, and then ensuring that the outstanding payments are made to us by our customers, and we in turn ensure that our customers, both MSMEs as well as large suppliers, are also served and paid on time to ensure their flow to their employees is not impacted. Again, the industry, I would say, worked very cohesively, very collaboratively to manage this situation. When it was in a early crisis or emergency mode in the initial phase of this COVID crisis, but right now it's more about trying to share information about what you are hearing about the market, exchanging information, and working on the upside we are seeing, a small upside we are seeing in July onwards in the markets, and trying to see how to deal with it. So that's what the industry is currently focused
on. Right. And as you rightly said, I think our auto industry is known to actually come up all guns blazing whenever posed with a severe challenge. I think everybody comes together. The OEMs, tier 1 suppliers like yourself, probably also the dealers. They need to change a lot of things at their end. So while the industry has actually done its best, as you also indicated, to actually cope up with this pandemic, there is obviously another very important stakeholder, the government, to actually handhold and support a very, very important industry like the automotive space. As a leading global tier 1 supplier with a very strong presence in the Indian market, what does Eaton expect from the government side for the welfare of the suppliers as well as the entire automotive industry? There's obviously a lot of talk on GST rate cuts, for instance, plus a long list of other requests, if I may say, from the industry to the government. What is your take on the same, Mr. Chalke?
Yeah, so another good question. And as you said, that government has a role to play along with the industry to ensure that we have a good recovery for the whole industry. And as you said, there have been a lot of discussions going on already about what the government can do, and GST rate cut has been one of the proposals put forward by the industry. But prior to that, we have to look at the crisis situation. This is a situation which is unprecedented. None of us have faced a situation in our lifetime, and none of the government has actually also faced similar situation in their existence, and many countries are also facing this for the first time. So the priority had to be the safety and well-being of people. Now for us, it's about employees, our communities we work with, and what we can do. And the governments, of course, has to take care of the employees of their respective countries. Indian government is no different. They are too made up safety a priority. And as I manage the Asia Pacific portfolio, I had an early exposure of how this situation was dealt with in China very decisively, then followed by countries like Japan, Korea, and Asia Pacific, which again had followed similar actions like lockdowns, like increasing the number of testing and creating medical facilities to serve the impacted the patients very quickly, and ensuring they get the required medical care. Our government too had to do that in the initial phase, and that's why lockdown was a necessary evil we had to, all of us had to face to really arrest the situation and bring it under control. And if you look at the number of cases we've had, or the increases we have seen in the fast term, we have not really had a very big major spike in the initial phase, which really put us on a back foot. But the trend has been quite similar to what many of these countries have faced. So I would say government has done a good job to really not let this, both state as well as central government has done a reasonably good job to keep the things under control and not let the things go out of hand and starts impacting. So on the safety front, and the well-being of employees, people have taken care. Companies like me and like Eaton, many companies have stepped up to take the necessary safety measures in their premises for the critical operations there to run in the initial phase and ensure that none of our employees are getting impacted also. So a lot of good things happen. Leading to the next phase of the crisis, as situation stabilizes and all of us start getting used to working under this new normal and working under this pandemic situation, so how to deal with it. You cannot keep operations shut down forever. There has to be a systematic or a progressive opening up of the economies, which I believe the government is doing. And as our Honorable Prime Minister announced that we have had a series of this Unlock 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0 being deployed systematically with progressive opening of the economy. That is something is required. If we can be more disciplined as citizens of the nation and also work together along with the industries, government bodies to make sure that we follow the regulations, we follow the norms laid out by us by respective municipalities, respective state and central governments, I guess we can accelerate this unlocking in a better way without really having any impact on the citizens of the country. Is going to be very critical. The other challenge I would say is that as slowly the supply side gets worked on by opening up the economy, the facilities being opened up, we also, and there is some work to do in terms of creating, I would say, not really ease, but more simplification of processes we need to follow to ensure our plants are up and running at maybe 50-60% capacity now, but more or less in line with the market demand. And how do we ramp that up? How can our employees and our suppliers are able to move the goods back and forth from their facilities to ours and our finished goods going to our customers is another critical aspect. The employees, their own transportation being done with all the proper care, proper health measures, but ensuring that we have the facilities to get our employees to our facilities and our products to our customers' premises becomes very critical. And there is still work to do on the supply side. But if the government can support the industry on the demand side, that will be great. So how can the demand be created is going to be very, very, very critical for us. And we are really looking at support from the government in terms of the GST you talked about. The vehicle scrapping policy has been under discussion for a long time, whether something can be done in that regard. Creation of infrastructure in a big way helps automotive industry to really grow and increase the rate of growth. So those are the 3-4 things which I believe have been in discussion for a long time. If there are some decisive steps taken in that direction, that will help us on the demand side and then help the industry overall. Is what I feel is going to be very critical. In addition to that, I would also say that there can be a potential opportunity for not just companies like us, which have already been exporting the product in automotive industry beyond the other segments we serve. But if we can do something to really boost the automotive industry export from India, looking at the current situation, the global situation, that can also be of help. So any incentives, and I know that the government is looking at the production-linked incentives, and some of those measures can be taken for auto or auto component industry. That will be of significant help for boosting the industry in future.
I mean, one thing which I really liked in your response, in particular to this question, you've actually not listed down a long things of to do for the government, and you rightly indicated the need and the importance for each of us to actually do our bit in actually ensuring that we come out of this crisis together successfully. So that is very true. And obviously, the government is one important stakeholder who probably has to support the industry as well, right? That said, Mr. Chalke, how is the outlook for Eaton's business in India for the current financial year? We know it's a very, very challenging year. Numbers are going to be very different than a very normal year. But your take on the outlook for the current year and also probably 2021, how do you expect the next year to pan out?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I have to say that first of all, we have to get used to operating in with a short-term visibility more than long-term visibility. You know, what you take as a long-term view now is changing in a short span of time so rapidly, either positive or negative, that sometimes it becomes difficult to forecast. And traditionally we have not been used to working with a short-term visibility. You know, we always like a long-term visibility, but I guess that this crisis is teaching us that situation can change very rapidly, and as a company or as an organization, agility becomes a very critical aspect of your business, and you have to really build the businesses which can be flexed up and down in line with what you see is changing in the external market environment, and that's going to be critical. So I would really honestly hesitate to give a firm long-term view, and rather gear ourselves for managing it by a quarter, by a month, by a quarter, and then look going forward. But to look at what we see coming forward, like you said, the March and April, of course, were really low months. May was better than what we expected, and so was June, and so is July. So I would say that perhaps the first shock made all of us go extremely conservative and how the outlook can be. And things have looked at least a little bit better, if not really significantly better compared to what we thought from. I'm telling you from our perspective, right, on these segments. I'm talking specifically about automotive. We hope that this demand, what we see now, just a short spurt, I won't really call it a big boost of demand, is sustainable, and the demand continues. On passenger car also, we have seen a lot of the two-wheeler numbers, for example, looking better because the demand is increasing, the demand for small car going up. We hope this demand holds and sustains over a period of time. So our outlook is actually going by the quarter. We really don't want to take a big long-term view, but we are coming to a stage where the numbers are so low that the industry we expect has bottomed out, and the quarters would be would be better than the previous quarter. We also have to keep in mind that 2019, the second half also was already a slowdown. So there is going to be a base year impact, which will start reflecting into the numbers of the industry also as we get deeper into 2020. So sequentially, we expect that numbers will be better, and also as the base year starts playing out in the looking at the second half of 2019, that will also have an impact on how the numbers look year on year. So we are hopeful that at least we see some light at the end of the tunnel in the quarter 3 of this financial year or quarter 4 of this calendar year, and it builds up going forward. Just to draw some parallel, we are seeing a very strong demand in agriculture sector. You have seen the tractor numbers being very strong, and we are major suppliers to the agriculture companies here, OEMs here in India, and we are seeing a very, very strong demand, and that is very encouraging. We are seeing a good demand for our UPS products on the electrical segment, as more and more people are working from home and operations have to really work more remotely than employees being present. And so those segments are doing well. On automotive, I would say we are still cautious about being overly optimistic about this. But in general, our expectations on the PMI for next year are certainly a double-digit growth. But still, it is going to take us a while to look at the industry going back to the 2018 numbers, which was really a good number. So we will see a sequential improvement is what we are hoping for 2 reasons. One is that the demand is going to go up. Second is the base year impact will start playing into the second half, and as we get into 2021 is one aspect, and then drawing parallel from what we see happening in the other industries.
Okay, and it's good to note Eaton's diversified presence, especially in the non-automotive segments, actually helping you during this crisis, especially the agriculture and also the power solutions, which you mentioned.
That's a good point you raise, yeah, because right. Being a diversified industry we have our businesses which are in short cycle, mid cycle, and a large cycle, and also aftermarket, which is a no cycle business. And times like this help us with our diversified portfolio, that the segments which come back very strongly are really helping us in terms of short cycle, as the mid cycle businesses are slowed down. And some no cycle businesses like our aftermarket continues to remain strong, actually even stronger in a situation like this, where there is a very less new equipment purchase happening. Aftermarket really helps us to really manage the portfolio and the businesses better.
Brilliant. You mentioned about that the crisis is actually giving us a big learning. Before we actually head into the other learnings from the crisis, I'd want to know from you, Mr. Chalke, on the technology trends which Eaton is keenly looking forward to in the Indian market. One side, we have the entire automotive market shift to BS6, which is a very, very significant transition as far as the Indian market is concerned. And on another side, we have the electric vehicle drive that's happening. It's probably got a little slowed down because of COVID, but definitely it's there for the medium to long-term future. And then we're talking about connected vehicles, autonomous probably a little later down the line. What are the areas where Eaton is probably looking forward to supplying your technology to customers in the Indian market, given these different technological advancements we're seeing in the market?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And as you said that we have been into this automotive segment for a very long time, and we actually are known for the technologies we launch into the automotive industry. Valve actuation has been one of the such technologies. A lot of our HLA products we are introducing in the market in a big way, and we are seeing a good demand for those. If you look at products like with the technology changing to Euro 6, we are seeing a good demand for our products. Going forward, we are seeing the Type 5 valve actuation products for the diesel vehicles and for commercial off-highway vehicles is where we are seeing another good demand, and we are working with many large OEMs there. If you talk about on the transmission side, we've always had products available in the market which have been engineered to meet the local market. They are not products which the same product we use across the world, but they have been made robust, reliable, and efficient to suit the Indian conditions. And though we work on a global platform, but they have been engineered to meet the demands of the Indian conditions. And our 6-speed and 9-speed transmissions are well known for their robustness, for their reliability and efficiency. For very heavy-duty applications, many OEMs have successfully used our products, and we are expanding our portfolio of those products here with what we do. We do for 2 and 4-speed transmissions, which we supply for the AMTs, for the electric vehicles, which again we are introducing in the market. We are working with some OEMs to see whether it's the right time for us to introduce the AMT product, the automated manual transmissions product, because Eaton has an excellent range of AMTs which we can launch in the products. So there are various platforms on which currently we are engaging with the customers. We have seen a good demand starting for our fuel emission control products. We have some very excellent products about vapor recovery, about just arresting the vapors from the fuel tanks, and those products are seeing some demand as customers are working on fuel emission controls. That has been seen a good product. We also have some very nice torque control products, where in a 2-speed vehicle, in a conditions where the vehicle does not get a traction, and the vehicle just spin, then you can have some very nice torque control products which can be used. They have been tried by many of our OEMs on the light commercial vehicles, and now they're looking at expanding it beyond the light commercial vehicles now. We are doing some trials there. So host of the products currently we see are being offered in this industry. We do have a very large basket of electric vehicle products. We have a separate vertical business called e-mobility, which is part of a vehicle business, which has DC-DC converters, onboard chargers, various fuses which we supply, and the transmissions I talked about, which we offer to our customers around the world. And there are some discussions going on right now. So there is a basket of products which we offer, and we work very closely with the OEMs here in India to launch those products. As I mentioned earlier, we have a very large tech center in Pune with over 2,000 engineers. Almost 300 plus of those are working on automotive industry and launching these products, not only in India, but also to our global customers. So we do have a presence of experts who are working with the largest e-mobility companies around the world. And those are the same people who can support our Indian customers for their needs on the products they develop for e-mobility. So that's how we're really trying to engage with our OEMs to introduce the new technologies in the Indian markets.
I mean, that's very, very interesting. Truly diverse range of products and technologies actually to offer to the market, to customers across different domains and tech divisions. That's very, very interesting, Mr. Chalke. Coming back to the COVID related issues, you touched upon one learning which the COVID scenario has actually thrown up. Obviously, it's given us a lot of challenges to face and overcome, but there's definitely also a positive side to this, right? So what opportunities do you think the entire pandemic crisis has given suppliers like Eaton and people in the automotive industry? And in particular, since you handle the hydraulics and vehicle division of Eaton, and not just for India, but also for the entire Asia Pacific region, excluding China, could you also throw some light on the much talked about issue of India gaining an upper hand over typically the Chinese market to become a global sourcing hub? What is your take on this entire issue, Mr. Chalke?
Yeah, again, an interesting question. And, as they say that you should never let a crisis go waste. And this is a very, very critical comment. And I think a situation we have all got into or got forced into is really helping us relook at the businesses in this way. Like, for example, who would have imagined that we would be running our operations, working from home for such a long period of time and still keep it going, right? I mean, that has been critical for the success of automotive, but all the industries which we serve. And you also have to give it to the employees, right? The commitment they have shown to really step up and support the organizations in times like this is really commendable. And you can see the industry really come together, like I was talking to you earlier, about trying to find out the best ways to help serve our customer. And that has been a prime focus of the industry. And I would say we've done a reasonably good job to really not let this crisis bring us down, but help us to really keep us head held high and serve the customer in the best possible way, despite all the challenges we face. So I think that is, I would say, a critical learning here, that when you are faced with a crisis like this, your business continuity plans are really up for implementation, and teams have to really step up to do what they can in a very short span of time. This Indian typical mindset of stepping up to the challenge, thinking up on your feet and acting very quickly to come up with innovative solutions, innovative ways to make the operation running is a very unique case. I have to tell you that we had a situation where some of the testings we had to do, and we could not get our equipment to the test facility because of the road through which we had to pass was going through the lockdown period. Our people physically carried it on sticks, the product, and by feet, and had to walk a few kilometers to take the product to the facility. But it was really commitment from our employees, and our whole idea of this Indian jugaad or Indian innovative way of thinking really helped us to really continue that. So it was really commendable to do with it. But this has also given all of us time to reflect and think about the way we can really manage the business. And I guess that we all realize that communications like this are becoming more common. We all are sitting in front of computer and connecting with the employees. The boundaries between working in office and being at home are now shrinking. You see that your work hours are extending, and perhaps a more intrusion into your private time. But people are now really adjusting to this new reality and finding ways to spend time with family and relax a bit during the day. So you have to really be more empowering, more trusting with your employees in time like this, and not really doubt 8 hours. The expectation is becoming more based on outcome than the number of hours you spend, and as long as you are getting the required outcome is critical. And then, like I talked about, the trust, empowerment are the qualities we respect in Eaton, and they are now gaining more and more importance as we work through this crisis. So I think that's going to change in a way about how you really engage with your teams and how do we really empower your teams to work in going forward is going to really have a significant impact. The other thing I would say that work from home to some extent would stay. I don't think it will go away, though there are different theories. But like I mentioned to you earlier, that more than 90% of our professional shared service and tech center employees have and we see that will have impact on how we will work. We already have flexible work policies for our employees on many of our entities. On any given day, maybe about 20% of our employees are working from home. We see an opportunity to extend that further and be more flexible on how we would work going forward. The social distancing norms are actually going to create demand for more space on one side, but on the other side, the work from home is going to reduce the requirement of demand for the real estate. So we have to really see net, do you end up having a less real estate than before or more? Is going to be another challenge. Connecting remotely with your plants, with your suppliers is another new normal. For example, we are doing our Gemba walks using Google Lens, virtual Gemba walks, which we were not doing so often, but we are able to connect with the employees. We see the meetings getting more productive because your focus. And sometimes, in the meetings, you have a bias of somebody sitting. And for us, working in a global organization, now we see all of us utilize the same screen space when you are sharing it with others, and so you get kind of an equal opportunity as you're communicating in the meeting. So a lot of learnings. I guess that the businesses will change with the way they operate. We are all getting used to working in the new normal. But as the demand picks up, I guess some of these best practices we will carry going forward and start really working in the new normal. I would also say that all of us are also getting more conscious about the new environment, the requirement of being green, and focusing more on green. So we really hope as an organization that we see more focus on green. Our company has been committed to that. We are also learning new practices to become even more green going forward, and we hope that will continue in future as well. The sensitivity to communicate in communities is other aspect I would bring in. In Eaton, for example, we have a trust called Eaton India Foundation, through which our community engagements are done, and we are focusing on health, education, and environment. And we use this crisis also to really reflect on what we can do better. And our employees themselves, and also supported by funding for our communities, we have been engaged with the hospitals, with the police stations, and whatever best we could do in our communities to support them face this crisis together. So a lot of learning from this, which I believe are going to be part of the way we would run business going forward.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting insights, Chalke. That probably brings me to my last question, more on the medium to long-term outlook. You did indicate that it's become very difficult to prepare and plan for the long term. But I don't want any numbers from your side. But overall, what's been the impact of COVID on the medium to long-term plans of Eaton in the Indian market? If you could probably just sum up with the same, I think then we can probably wind up the interaction.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I think on the medium term, immediately the Q2 or the Q1 of this financial year was really bad. I mean, that we have seen really negative growth and significant impact on the operations. From July onwards, we are seeing the numbers getting better, but we still feel that sequentially the numbers will be better. But when you compared to the same quarter last year, we are still going to see negative growth, at least on the automotive. Though we are quite positive that on the hydraulics business, because of the growth we are seeing on agriculture, the construction segment is not really coming up to speed so rapidly. But on agriculture, the demand being so strong, we expect the numbers to be quite good. Our outlook for Q4 is certainly better than Q3. We expect that, first of all, the BS4 inventory will be consumed by then, and as the more and more BS6 vehicles start getting built, the demand will pick up. We expect that e-commerce demand should also help to some extent the medium and heavy-duty industry, and the numbers pick up. And for next year, for sure, we are expecting a positive year-on-year growth. But it will take us a while, we believe, maybe about 2 years to go back to the 2018 numbers, the kind of demand we have seen. So we expect that the negative impact on the overall market situation, not just because of COVID, but also because of the slowdown we saw in 2019 and followed by the impact of COVID, it's going to be about 2 to 3 years before we start seeing that numbers go back to the 2018 level. So we have to basically wait and watch and take a view quarter. To say that overall, as a company, we are optimistic. We are already committed to India with our 9 manufacturing plants for all the businesses and a very large foot. We have about 7,000 employees, Mr. Balsubramanian, working for Eaton here, contract and Eaton employees supporting all our operations with 9 manufacturing facility and a very large global innovation center in Pune. We have a very large footprint. Our commitment to India is not going to change because of this one crisis. Eaton is a company which is 110-year-old company, which has seen similar crisis, though not the same, but similar crisis, both economic or otherwise in the past. And the very fact that the company has survived and sustained itself and continued to grow profitably over a period of time knows that we know how to manage and flex the operation through these cycles and come out of those stronger. So we expect to come out of this crisis as a stronger organization with more resolve, more understanding of the local market, more appreciation for our stakeholders, our customers, our suppliers, and our employees, of course, and a more stronger resolve to really come out of it stronger and build on what we have learned on this and become a better organization going forward.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chalke. That's very well summed up and a very interesting point. As you indicated, Eaton is probably one of the very few brands that was probably existing when the Spanish flu probably came in 1920, right? 100 years back. So, I mean, that's a very interesting point to note as well. So we wish you the very best for the rest of the year and also for the medium to long term in the Indian market.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you to Motor India and to Mr. Balsubramanian.
Sure.
We appreciate your interest in Eaton, and we look forward to continuing with your.
Definitely, sir. Yeah, same here. We look forward to more interactions with you and your team in future, Chalke. Thank you so much for your time. Sure.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Pleasure. Pleasure.